Back to our channel BioLab, and this is Vamsi. In today's video we will be discussing about differentiation, and also we will be starting about development, and we will be seeing about heterophile. And if you want the notes, as usual, you can comment down below, or you can also text me on my number, which I will be providing in the description box below. So the notes is made with full line to line NCERT points in order to make a beautiful and creative notes. You can go there and you can pay 5 rupees and get the notes. All the notes are 5 rupees, only one time payment, guys. Let's get into the video without any further ado. And today we will be discussing about differentiation. Differentiation. What is meant by differentiation? First of all, let's see the meaning of differentiation. See, differentiation is a process. It is a process in which meristematic cells are converted. Meristems are converted to permanent cells. Meristems are converted into permanent cells. Meristems are converted into permanent. What are permanent cells? Like you can say parenchyma, you can say collenchyma, schizenchyma. These all are permanent cells. Meristematic cells possess the ability of dividing. Yes, in the last video when we are talking about phases of growth, I have said you that meristematic phase is a Jouvelian phase and cells rapidly divide. Yes, if you remember that, you can get it. If you haven't seen the video, I'll be placing in the iCards or also or in the description box below, the link in the description box below. You can go there and check that video too. Now, meristematic cells possess the ability of dividing, but permanent cells are mature cells. They are mature cells, that's why they are placed into the maturation phase. They are in the maturation phase. And these do not have the ability of dividing. They do not divide. No division happens in these permanent cells like parenchyma. So while converting meristematic cells into permanent cells, the meristematic cells undergo some changes, and that process is called as differentiation. Okay, that process is called as differentiation. So in general we have two types of differentiation. Let's see one by one. In general, we have two types. Let me erase these first of all. The first one is de-differentiation. De-differentiation. The second one is redifferentiation. De-differentiation and redifferentiation. What is meant by de-differentiation? De-differentiation is the ability to gain the dividing ability. So let me put it in nice words. It is the ability of a plant to divide again. They redivide simply after conversion of meristematic cells, meristems, to permanent cells, these permanent cells again possess the ability of redividing, means they again act as meristems, they again act as meristems, they again act as meristems. One of such example is your intervesicular cambium. Example is very important. They can frame a question on this example and ask you. Yes, let me write it. One of the example is intervesicular cambium. This is one of the example. Please remember it. Intervesicular cambium, not intra but intervesicular cambium, and cork cambium. You can also take cork cambium. Now redifferentiation is just the opposite of this dedifferentiation. Means here the cells do not possess the ability of redividing. They do not redivide. Do not redivide. What is meant by this? Once they are converted into mature permanent cells, they again do not possess the ability of meristems. Then they are allowed to perform their own functions, their separate functions. Therefore they are called as redifferentiation cells, redifferentiating cells. They do not possess the ability to redivide. That's the difference between redifferentiation and dedifferentiation. Remember the example for dedifferentiation, it's very important. So now that's it, we have completed with the differentiation. Now let's move on to development. Let's see what is development in plants. Yes, hope in the first lecture I have said you that development is something plus something. I remember that. Let's see about develop. Yes, in the very first lecture itself I have told you that it is the sum of development is the sum of growth and differentiation. Development, it is the sum of growth as well as differentiation. Means cells should grow and some cells should get differentiated. So that is development in plants. That is development. Then only the plant is gonna be developing. If your plant is just growing, increasing its length, increasing its number of cells, increasing its width or girth increase, cannot be considered as development until and unless differentiation happens. Until and unless differentiation happens. Now let's see the factors which affect this development in plants. We have two factors mainly which affect this development in plants. The first factor, okay, let me write the topic name. Factors affecting development. Factors affecting development. There are two factors mainly. The first factor is called as intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor, and the second one is called as extrinsic factor. Extrinsic factor, intrinsic and extrinsic factor. These are the two factors. There is one more factor which is called as plant growth regulators or phytohormones, which we will be studying in the next lecture. We will be studying about them a lot in the next lecture and coming lectures too. Okay, let's now see what are the intrinsic and extrinsic factors which affect the development. Extrinsic factors can be environment, like you can say temperature, humidity, etc. These all come into extrinsic. Intrinsic factors, internal growth, internal organ growth, like PGRs are also considered as intrinsic factors only. Okay, plant growth regulators. Okay, now this is about development. These are the factors which affect development, and we have seen it is a sum total of growth plus differentiation. Now let's move on to heterophily or plasticity. What is meant by plasticity? What is meant by heterophily? Let's see. First of all, in order to understand heterophily, we have to understand plasticity. Plasticity of a cell. What is meant by plasticity? Let's understand now. See, it is the ability of plants to follow different pathways in response to the environment. It is the ability of plants to follow different pathways by plants. In response to the environment. Environment means simply habitat. Let me give you an example of such things. Heterophily in cotton. There is a pathways. Means the features keep changing from the same species of the plant from place to place. If the plant is placed in water medium, it would have some kind of leaves like this. It is a heterophily seen, environmental heterophily seen in buttercup. It is an environmental heterophily seen in buttercup. The water habitat plants would have leaves like this in buttercup. Terrestrial habitat plants would have leaves something leafy, greeny. This is terrestrial. So see, as the habitat, let us land. See, as the habitat is changing, the patterns of leaves are changing. It is a response. In response to the habitat, plants are behaving like this. So that is called as plasticity, and heterophily is also a kind of plasticity. Now the heterophily can be two types. It can be in the plant itself, like natural heterophily. Just we say it as heterophily. And it can be also caused due to the environment. It is called as environmental heterophile. As I simply said about buttercup, buttercup is one of the best example of environmental heterophile. See, take for example, in cotton, coriander, you have to remember these, coriander and larkspur. Larkspur. These plants exhibit heterophily, means their leaves in the juvenile phase are different from the leaves in the adult phase. Leaves in the juvenile phase are different from adults. Here the heterophilia or plasticity is within the plant. It is regarding its age. If the juvenile leaves are of some structures, the adult leaves are of different structures. It is age related factor in these plants, especially cotton, coriander and larkspur. But in buttercup, the heterophilia is due to the environment or habitat. Water habitat leaves are different from land habitat leaves. This is in buttercup. Remember these names: cotton, coriander, larkspur. Buttercup is only one of the example which is given in your NCERT with regards to environmental heterophilia, and you have to remember the name. Okay, this is about heterophilia, and that is the end for this lecture. In tomorrow's lecture we will be seeing about tomorrow, or in the next lecture we will be seeing about plant growth regulators and why they have put the name for it as such. So thank you guys. If you like the video, please hit that like button and also subscribe to our channel BioLab. And this is Vamsi signing off from BioLab. Have a great day ahead.